As the pilot of a fixed-wing aircraft, it's my job to think of helicopters as slow, noisy, not very capable, and not a very practical option for travel.
I've not seen this part of Melbourne, this sort of viewpoint before, it's good.
But when it comes to flying in this Bell 429 Global Ranger, I couldn't be more wrong. So Daniel, this is the Bell 429 Global Ranger? Did I get the name right?
Yeah, that's right. And well known around the world really is just the Bell 429. This helicopter version actually is Bell 429 WLG because it has wheeled landing gear.
I have to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about helicopters. Of course, as an aviator, I'm curious about them, but I've never really had that much close contact with them. So when the team from Bell told me they had a 429 here in Melbourne, which needed to do a bit of work around the city, and they mentioned there was a spare seat, of course I jumped at the chance to be able to show you what this new helicopter was like, but also to see whether maybe helicopters could be in my future as a pilot as well.
What sort of uses would an aircraft like this have? Is this just like a private aircraft? Is this used commercially?
It's a versatile helicopter in that sort of what we call a light twin space. It's a bit over 3 tonne and about 8 seats, and that lends itself to being able to do everything across the board, from corporate and private type operations, which this aircraft here behind us is, through to police, law enforcement. You can put a hoist on it, do search and rescue, EMS. We have power line operators as well, so you can put a full suite of sensors either under the nose or under the tail, so you can look at things like power line inspection. You can also put a cargo hook and long line capability underneath it, which lends itself to being able to do any vertical reference and lifting work, which includes firefighting if you put a bucket underneath. Yeah.
So it must have quite a lot of power and grunt. What sort of power plant have you got on board? What can it lift? How much power does this thing have?
Yeah, look, it's got plenty. It's a very well-powered helicopter. We've got 2 Pratt & Whitney 206Ds on this aircraft. They're 550 shaft horsepower a side. So you put that together and you've got a pretty significant power to weight ratio for this helicopter. The external gross weight limit for those that are in the helicopter world is 500 pounds higher. So when you're doing your lifting work, say today we might take off in this helicopter full of passengers and fuel and bags, and you can take off at 7,500 pounds. If you take off with an external load, including the long line underneath and maybe a big net that's carrying barrels of fuel or something like that, or a big water bucket with 1,000 litres of water, then the helicopter can take off at 8,000 pounds.
Can we rock, paper, scissors for the front seat?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Oh. Oh no! All right, we're going to definitely edit this down. I'm going to sit in the front on the way there. You're in the front on the way back.
That was amazing.
Aircon everything's off, the lighting's set as required. We've got the comms up, obviously everything once we get going. We've got the fuel valves are all closed. All clear. You want to pin the back down? Alright. All clear. Starting 2.
To get your way off 3.5 to follow the traffic pattern. Suggest intersection at November, which is the first one on your right there, and the distance remaining from that point is 857 metres.
Okay, we are good to roll up. Everyone happy? Happy, very happy. This is so much better than sitting at my desk doing emails.
Maintain upwind, 3.5, clear for takeoff.
Maintain upwind, runway 35.
Just out to your right to Cessna also for the bulky bridge, a bit slower. They're going to turn right now, heading out towards the Westgate Bridge.
That was a nice comment from the air traffic controller. the aeroplane's slower than the helicopter.
As the Bell sales rep, do you want me to keep that in the video? Yeah, all right. Richard's our pilot today. Thanks for flying us around this morning.
No worries at all.
It looks fun. Is this fun to fly?
It is a beautiful aircraft to fly.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you look good.
So you can fly this single pilot, you can fly IFR?
Correct.
Yeah. And the automation in here, so what kind of autopilot automation have you got on board here?
So it's a 4-axis autopilot. So I have flown single engine aircraft with 2-axis. You find if the wind's up a little bit, it's sort of working against itself to stay straight and level. However, this aircraft just keeps going along, super smooth, One of the deceiving things is it's actually not that much bigger than a 407.
Oh, is that right?
As far as a footprint. However you hop in it, as you can see the cabin size, like your knees in the back can't touch. It's a very comfortable cabin, very smooth aircraft.
And what are we cruising at the moment?
Oh, we're just poking along at about 120 knots, just nice and comfortable for the orbit of Melbourne. And then we'll lean on it a little bit more in a second, probably doing about 100, 135 knots.
If you look out to your left, Steph, you see that helipad on that vessel there, the ship?
Oh yes, I see it.
Yeah, so there's a thing called marine pilot transfer with helicopters where the helicopter takes the ship pilot out any day, any night, almost any weather, and drops someone on that ship by helicopter.
Quite a skilled job being able to do that.
Yeah, it's right up there because they fly at night with very limited visibility.
And potentially a moving target as well.
Yeah, so the vessels have procedures regards the wind and the conditions, but yes, it can be variable for sure.
Traffic will be passing overhead in the next 30 seconds.
Traffic, 1
You can
o'clock,
turn TCAS on.
less than 1 mile.
Cleared Avalon, direct not above 1,500. Information Delta is current.
Direct Avalon, not above 1,500.
We've got the FR 172 passing on for the left-hand side, 400 above. They're outside of control area now.
Avalon Tower, g'day again. Track for a close left base for the southern apron. Report on the ground.
500. 400.
Because we've got wheels, you can essentially just land it on and drive down there. Correct.
300. 200. 100.
It's busy quick down here, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. There's lots going on. Also, Richard, can you not do landings as good as that on my YouTube channel, please? Because people are used to bad landings when they watch me fly. That was really nice. That was really nice. Thanks for bringing us here.
Like I said, the machine makes you look good.
Oh, every good pilot says that. Typically busy day in the airspace over Melbourne there, but we've got into Avalon now. The aircraft is parked behind me, as you can see. The team from Bell are actually here for another appointment. They're meeting someone else down here at Avalon. So I've got about 10-15 minutes with the aircraft. I'm just having a closer look, taking some exterior shots of it whilst we're down here on the ground at Avalon Airport. Where I'll be again in a month's time from now, because it's the Avalon Air Show coming up in Australia, which is always a brilliant day on the aviation calendar here in Australia. So the team from Bell will be here at the Avalon Air Show. So if you are coming down, first of all, let me know in the comments below. Actually, let me see if I can show you some of the stuff that they've already got here for the Avalon Air Show. There's a lot of the infrastructure going in at the moment. You can see some of the tents are there. Some of the trucks are driving around, delivering equipment. Biggest air show in Australia. Right here at Avalon Airport. Won't be long before this place is absolutely slammed with like-minded people, aviation enthusiasts. All right, we're pretty much finished on the ground here. The guys have finished doing what they needed to do. We're going to start the helicopter up and head back to Essendon.
After winning the rock, paper, scissors challenge and getting the front seat on the way up, I was in the back for the return flight back to Essendon. But I didn't mind that because it actually gave me a rare chance to experience exactly what it's like to sit in the back of a multi-million-dollar corporate charter helicopter, something that's usually reserved for people like George Clooney. So on the return 15-minute flight, I made sure to make the most of the experience, but also to try and understand exactly who this helicopter was aimed at.
So how many people can you fit in this aircraft?
So the configuration is a pilot plus 7 passengers.
Yep.
So you'll have one passenger like myself here in the front, and you can take a set of controls out of the front, so what we would call dual controls, which means this configuration is set up to have single pilot and your 7 passengers. You've got 6 seats. You can have them facing together in what's called club configuration, like you have it, or you can have everyone facing forward as well. There's also some VIP configurations which you get less seats but they're bigger. There's a few extras there that you can look at, such as consoles, drop-down TV screen.
Headroom-wise, I'm 6'2", 184 centimetres. I've still got a decent amount of headroom above me here at the moment. There's no issues there. And even though I've got this whole space to myself, so it's a little bit biased right now, but even if there were people sitting here, you don't feel jammed in. The big windows, I think, really help as well, not make you feel too claustrophobic and stuck in the back here. It's very spacious.
Yeah, windows from your hips all the way up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And you find a lot of people used to flying airplanes looking out the window, but not necessarily looking down. So if you look around to your right now, you can see right underneath you.
Yeah, I don't get that viewpoint. You're absolutely right. I've either got a wing in the way, or if I'm out the front, I've got obviously the nose cow and everything in the way, so you can't look down. Daniel, outside of showing fantastic aircraft like this to very fortunate YouTubers like me, who's the kind of typical customer that you would be dealing with?
It's really across the board. So I can go to an air show and someone will ask me, hey, if I buy that helicopter, can I learn to fly? And so they're right at the start of their aviation journey, all the way up to government agencies that are trying to use these helicopters for complex missions like your search and rescue, police. Super fun for me because, we're going for a cool flight today.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then tomorrow I might have to go and talk to someone with some really in-depth technical knowledge about some system or some performance that they're trying to get out of this helicopter.
Yeah. Are you saying that I don't have in-depth technical knowledge of this helicopter?
By the end of today, you will.
I hopefully will. I did also already text my wife and say that we need to buy a helicopter, but she hasn't written back, so I'll report back. Now, it probably doesn't need to be said, but it was really nice sitting in the back of that multi-million-dollar corporate helicopter flying over Melbourne. As someone who lives in a city, I see helicopters like this pretty much every day flying over the top of us. So it was a real privilege to get to fly in this helicopter. But it wasn't long before we were approaching Essendon. And as we got our clearance to land, one more thing that reminded me why helicopters are so cool was as we were landing on the helipad, we actually had an aircraft taking off to our right on the main runway. And getting a view of another aircraft taking off like this is really rare in aviation, especially when you fly fixed-wing aircraft.
Yeah, when ready, taxi to Bay 28.
Bay 28, thanks, yeah.
But just how relevant is an aircraft like the Bell 429 to people like you and me? Well, firstly, and probably most obviously, it's unlikely that it's an aircraft that you and I are going to be using on a daily basis. But more and more are being delivered, and it's already in use in quite a few countries around the world. And whilst we would never want to be in the situation where we need it, if one day we were caught up in a bushfire, if we were in an accident, if we needed rescuing from a remote location, it is nice to know that there are incredibly capable aircraft like the Bell 429 out there for us. I'm just grateful that for 15 minutes there, I was basically a movie star. I was George Clooney there in my private helicopter over the skies of Melbourne. It's a lifestyle that I could very much get used to. Might not be able to afford it, but I could very much get used to it.